Hi guys, happy Friday, Thursday, I don't know what day it is. Sorry. Thursday. Alright, so, happy Thursday. I didn't know what day it was. Alright, so, you know what's really weird? That we don't ever really find creation stories within traditional witchcraft. We don't really find any kind of, like, pure good explanations of the other world, like the other realms that we go into when we pass. So, I found a passage in Between the Realms, Cornish Myth and Magic. Amazing book. Very little. So there's all kinds of little bits of information that you really, really should need as a witch, traditional witch, if you're on this path. So I just wanted to go over this because I thought this was incredible, and it really, it just kind of explains more about, you know, the other world, you know, where we go and we pass, and etc., so on and so forth. So, alright, so as we have seen, most Celtic literature and myth has the concept of an other world. In Irish, it was also known as Aes-Side, and in Welsh folklore, Anfuin or Anwin, pronounced Anun. So Anun, we all know that one. Alright, so this other world has many other names and manifestations, including, I don't know how to say a lot of these, the Turnanog, the land of youth, the Inambio, the land of the living, Terngurk, the land of promise, and Turnail, the other world. So Turnail, that's what I'm most familiar with, the other world. So it will also thought to consist of the upper world, the middle world, and the underworld. So it's all together, just like our fetch, how we have three aspects of our body, just like in yesterday's video, or the other day's video. I don't know when it was. So, and in many stories, it is the place occupied by the ancestors. So that's a really, you know, amazing thing, you know, to tap into. Now, often the hero goes in search of the ancient dead as it is they who remember and preserve the traditions of older times. So, however, the other world generally is not a place of doom and gloom. Rather than the ending of life, the other world of the Celts is a gateway into another kind of life. So often this looks very much like our everyday life, and it does too. So, well, I don't know, because I haven't died yet, so I have yet to do that. Though it is transformed by the beauty and by the otherworldly creatures who inhabit it. So, it's very interesting, very interesting. So, it is in fact a very magical, idealized mirror image of the human world. So, I mean, literally, that is kind of what I'm going at, is what you believe, what you think, where you think you're going to go when you pass. It is in this one of these realms, it is in the other world, so I mean, it is literally a reflection of what we have thought. So, like, you say you are thinking that you're going to go to some crazy hellacious dimension when you die, kaboom, there you go, you're going to get that. So, I don't believe in any of that. So, I mean, I do believe in this, magical, intensified, mirrored world. So the creatures who inhabit this world include the dead ancestors, but also gods, spirits, supernatural creatures, and strange beasts. Why wouldn't they? Because it's all part of traditional craft. So, and often the fairy folk. Now the place of the other world is also a place of time, out of time. Time moves at a different pace, and if an ordinary mortal enters the other world, he or she does not grow any older there. So yeah, there's no linear time. I mean, everybody was taught to, there's time. That it's false. There's no such thing as time. It's all false. It's just to, keep us, tick-tocking. So, however, if she or he then returns to the everyday world, time has passed and all his or her companions have grown older. So that's a little creepy. Other common elements in the Welsh and Irish stories include the passage into the other world, which is often into a burial mound or a fairy mound, or across or underwater. So there's a lot of that. Also, the time for entering the other world is often at the Celtic festivals, when the boundaries between our earthly and supernatural worlds is broken down and spirits and humans can move freely between the two lands, which I do not believe in any kind of veil or anything that's separating us from the other worlds. They are here coexisting simultaneously, all at the very same time. And reading House of Darkness, House of Light has opened my eyes to the physicality of the actual spirit beings being here with us, coexisting with us. I mean, there could be 50 of them right here with me, and we don't know it. I mean, you can feel it, but, we can't really always see it with the naked eye unless they, take some source and, manifest themselves, so. But yeah, I don't believe in that. But well-known stories that feature voyages to the other world include The Voyage of Bran from the Irish mythic cycle, and Pwyll, Lord of Difk from the Welsh Mabinogion. Now, Pwyll, Lord of Dyfed, spends a year in the otherworld. And there are many other lesser-known stories from myth and folklore that include the same themes and accounts. So if Otherworld plays such an important part in the stories of other Celtic nations, the question arises as to whether there was a Cornish equivalent to that realm, and there is. So, now the nearest equivalent to the Welsh Annwn is the Cornish word Annwn, and there is also the Cornish word Anaw, so meaning a personification of death. Now, Annwn as a word seems to have been constructed by analogy, which is good, from Breton and Welsh, meaning a personification of death. Annwn as a word, but Anaw is a native word found in the Old, Middle, and Late Cornish, with up to 30 occurrences in text, including the creation of the world. So we do actually have, in Cornish witchcraft and traditional craft, we do have creation stories, but they are not readily available. So, I thought that was pretty interesting. References to the otherworld also occur in the fairy faith in the Celtic countries. So, where Evan Wenz says, the Celtic otherworld is like that hidden realm of subjectivity, lying just beyond the horizon of mortal existence, which we cannot behold when we would, save with the mystic vision of the Celtic seer. Now, he points out that all Celtic nations have their mythic islands offshore, which were thought to be dwelling place of the other world. So, now in Brittany, it was called YS. In Wales, it was known as Caer, Arianrhod. In Ireland, various names including High Brazil, and in Cornwall, of course, the lost land of Lyonesse. So there was also a legend that the Isles of Sicily were the places of the dead, where souls went after the death to rest. In Welsh myths, such as the story of Culhwch and Alwyn and Bronwyn, daughter of Lir, Cornwall often becomes a metaphor for a kind of Celtic otherworld, to where Arthur chases a boar and disappears into the sea, and where Bron's men open a door to the land and come face to face with all their grief. So literally, Cornwall, in a metaphysical term or sense, would be the other world. So, now it is, however, the stories recorded both by Robert Hunt and William Bothwell in the late 19th century that perhaps furnish us with the best folkloric evidence of the concept of an other world in Cornwall. So, now one of the most powerful of these stories is recorded by Bothwell as Fairy Dwelling on Selina Moor. Now, the story concerns the disappearance of a farmer, William Noy. Now, these are really interesting stories. So, and how, after 3 days, he is discovered apparently asleep on a stretch of boggy ground near Selina Moor. Now, when he comes to, he tells a strange story of taking a shortcut across the moor and getting lost in a part of the moor he had never seen before. After wandering many miles, he heard strains of music and spied lights glimmering. He then saw hundreds of little people, amongst whom one was Grace Hutchins, who had formerly been his sweetheart until she had died 3 or 4 years before. That's very touching. I like that. She had in fact been abducted by the fairy folk, all of whom were originally mortals who had lived thousands of years ago. Now, this makes explicit the nature of the other world as the dwelling place of ghosts of prehistoric people. So, I mean, you can tap into that, tapping the bone, and it's some incredible stuff. So now the otherworld is also described by Grace Hutchins as a beautiful garden with alleys all bordered by roses and many sweet flowers that she had never seen light of. Apples and other tempting fruit dropped in the walks and hung overhead, bursting ripe. Significantly, the garden is also described as being surrounded by trees and water, indicated of a liminal boundary between this world and the other world. That would be the river Styx that separates this world from the other world, but there really should not be no separation of it. So, and perhaps most significantly of all, the fairy folk are described as not of our religion, but star worshippers, perhaps a memory of the pagan beliefs of the ancestors. So, Grace also speaks of being able to take the form of any bird she pleases, and shape-shifting was also a common Celtic motif. That's pretty much how I view the afterlife. Yeah, basically how I view the afterlife. So, it does match up to what I thought. So the road to the other world through caves and mounds, so typical of Irish and Welsh tales, may also be found in the Cornish story of the young farmer Richard Vingo, who follows a path into an underground passage on treble cliffs and, on emerging, finds himself in a strange, pleasant-looking country. That is fairyland. So here, he too meets his former lover, who has been dead for years, and in this case, he leads him back to the upper world by a shorter road and through an opening in a cam. So in another story, The Lost Child of St. Alan, a young child is taken to the other world by being lured by some beautiful music that leads him to the center of a dark groove. Now this is, very, very interesting stuff. Now a passage appears before him as if made by some invisible being, and he finds himself on the edge of a small lake. Now he falls asleep, which is the prelude to crossing the liminal threshold between this world and the other world. Again, the river Styx. It's very evident that this is the river Styx. Now he is then taken by a beautiful lady through palaces of the most gorgeous description. Pillars of glass supported arches which glistened with every color, and they were hung with crystals far exceeding anything which we ever seen in the caverns of a Cornish mine. Can you imagine the crystal, like a crystal cave? Beautiful. Just think about this. Think about this and really take your mind there. Focus on it and take your mind there and see what you come back with. Now, eventually, he is restored to everyday life world. This story includes many of the elements found in the Welsh and the Irish annals. The beautiful music leading to the other world, this place surrounded by a lake, or at the bottom of a lake, and beautiful state of the land itself. It's so beautiful. Just imagine that. Imagine, it's just, no more worries, no more nothing. It's beautiful. So now, although the stories of the Cornish Otherworld are never specifically described as the other world, ever, it is clear that that this is what they are. In the story of Cherry of Zenar, for example, there are a number of important trigger words in the story to indicate that the reader is on a journey to the other world. So you can take yourself to the other world. You don't have to die in order to go there, but you don't want to get stuck there for a long time, because then you come back and it's just, it can really mess with your mind. Alright, now Cherry meets a gentleman at a crossroads, a magical place of transformation. So I do believe that we do go to a crossroads only after we die. And he takes her on a journey through lanes where sweet briars and honeysuckles perfume the air, and the reddest of ripe apples hung from the trees over the lane. So this is like literally, almost every religion has this kind of an afterlife, a beautiful afterlife with tons of amazing fruits and crystals and roads paved with gems and gold. So you can kind of see it in the Bible. You can kind of see where the Christians kind of took over and invented their form, their heaven, with Jesus and God and the saints and all that crap. So now I honestly believe that the Christian heaven, quote, heavy air quotes on that, heaven was taken from paganism, which everything from Christianity was taken from paganism. Now the fecundity of nature, where everything grows abundantly, is always a hint that we are on the way to the other world. Then they come to a stream of water as clear as crystal, which ran across the lane. Now, where the man carries her across, streams and rivers are usually liminal places, marking the division between this world and the other world. Now, having crossed the stream, they arrive at a garden where everything was more intensely beautiful than anything in everyday world. Flowers of every dye were around her, fruits of all kinds hung above her, and the birds, sweeter of song than any she had ever heard, burst out into a chorus of rejoicing. That's beautiful. That is a beautiful encounter. It's a beautiful sentiment of this person to include that in this book. So Cherry was then taken into a house which was yet more beautiful. Flowers of every kind grew everywhere, and the sun seemed to shine everywhere, and yet she did not see the sun. That's beautiful. Pure beauty. Now Cherry spends some time in this enchanted land looking after the house and the master's child, but it is no ordinary place. So one room contains people who have been turned to stone, and Cherry has some ointment put on her eyes, which gives her the gift of seeing the fairy folk. Now, eventually she returns to this world, the real world, but it is forever changed by the experience. So, stories such as these seem to contain aspects which link them back to far earlier time than when they were written down, a time of early sagas and stories from other Celtic lands such as Ireland and Brittany, full of strange events and journeys to other realms. The Otherworld was ever present for the Celts and can be found as strongly in these Cornish stories as anywhere in the classic Celtic literature. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I had to share that with you guys. It just the other world. I mean, we don't really have, other worlds within, the afterlife. We don't have a really specific definition of the afterlife in, Cornish witchcraft. We don't have a specific, creation story. But yes, there is one. So it's you have to read between the lines in Cornish witchcraft because there are secrets and stuff that people will not tell you. So I thought it was beautiful. So that's kind of how I envisioned my, heaven, going to a heavenly, other world was that. So that is exactly how I thought it would be. And then boom, it comes up in the book. So yeah, it's synchronicity, which is really good. So, but alright guys. I had a really good day in chat yesterday with you guys. It was nice. It was very nice. It was calm, and everybody had great readings. The energy was really intense and high. I loved it. So, but yeah, what do you guys think? So, I will see you guys tomorrow. I have a lot to do today, so I'm not going to be live. I'm sorry, but I do love you guys with all my heart. And please stay safe, stay healthy, all that good stuff. Keep yourselves, just safe and healthy. That's all I ask. So, I love you guys with all my heart, all the way from Venus. Always, 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 always Venus. All the way back down. And I will see you guys tomorrow, so just please stay healthy and stay happy. And I love you guys with all my heart, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.